Hello everyone. It has been a long time since we done the last Artistic Extension podcast. Been a little bit busy with a lot of things. I've been busy, really busy training Arielle. We've been working pretty hard on a few things, getting ready for Fringe 2025, working on a lot of just new skills and tricks and a lot of stuff for Arielle as well too. So
just all the things.
All the things. So we've had a little bit of a break between Artistic Extension since last time. But we are back and we are starting with the first episode of season 2 with lovely Arielle. Arielle Diamond,
Yay.
correct?
That is correct.
Perfect. Oh,
You got it right this time.
I know, I usually call her Arielle.
You do.
From, what was that? From the first Fringe that we done together. We
Yeah.
were doing like the door girl stuff and everything
Yes.
too. So
Where I was your little door girly.
Yeah. How did that even come up?
I think you put a post up and it was either sent to me or someone tagged me in it being like, you'd be good at this.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I thought you just saw my Instagram and that you reached out to me.
Someone sent it to me and then I was like, yeah, I'd happily do that. I'd be good at that. I'm
Yeah.
good at talking to
Yeah.
you. Pretty
Lovely.
much.
I
And
didn't know that.
that was that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, I guess kind of going back to that, just kind of like our whole story of how like we kind of first started working together. We had basically met through a mutual contact of ours, another performer. And you were doing, I don't know what you were doing at that time. We were just doing some stuff with her.
Oh goodness, there was all sorts of stuff going on. I mean, performers, Fringe, hectic, crazy, rhinestones, you name it. The list goes on.
Yeah.
As you're aware.
Well, yeah, because that was before last Fringe, so it would have been like right before. I probably would have met you maybe like a month or two before Fringe actually started kicking off.
Yeah, I think it would have been either January or December.
That sounds about right. Sounds about right. So I think that's kind of where our journey kind of started together.
Yeah, 100%.
And then from there, you want to kind of explain what happened and kind of like the whole little journey up until now?
Oh goodness, that has been a wild ride. So it's funny because this mutual contact and I were talking and I was like, I want to start performing more, but I need to learn to take care of my body more and actually learn to stretch properly. I want to work on my flexibility and all of these little bits and pieces. And this performer literally just said, dude, contact form.
Yeah, lovely.
It was that simple. And I was like, you sure? And yeah, so I did. And that is literally how that happened.
Yeah.
I mean, we started with 1 hour sessions and now we train 2 hours a week.
2 hours a week. Yeah.
2 hours a week. So many different things. No session is ever the same.
100%.
Which I actually think is very important.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to progress.
Yeah. Going back on that, what kind of made you decide, like, yes, we need to train, we need to take it seriously?
Yeah.
Like, was there a point, because obviously you do have a little bit of background in the performing arts?
Yes.
How much exactly?
So I guess if we wanted to take it all the way back, I was a figure skater from the age of 12 through to 15.
You're right, okay.
So my experience with the performing side of things started there. And then, I hit a plateau there.
Yep.
There was no coach that could really break that plateau.
Yep.
And I eventually just almost got talked into quitting.
Yeah.
So I left it behind.
When you say plateau, what do you mean by that? Was there a point where you got to where you were just like, I don't know what else to do now? Like, I feel like I've reached
there was this one jump. If you're familiar with the figure skating world, it's called an axel. It's one of the hardest jumps you can do in figure skating. And I could not get the takeoff for the life of me. Because backward entry, everything is just absolutely stuffed up for that.
Yeah.
And it never worked. There were times where I almost got it and then I'd just land and get, ice burn on my face or...
Yeah, right, okay.
Yeah, it was just... And Mum was just like, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I think you just need to leave it.
Okay.
And so that's exactly what I did. And I wonder now if I'd had another coach who could explain things differently or had just a different method of teaching, if I could have maybe actually landed that, because there's so many things that I never thought I could actually do that you've managed to teach me and have me doing in no time. And it's like, this never made sense before. Why does it make sense now? It's the training method.
That's a very interesting concept, I think, too, because like I've noticed too with a lot of different performers and everything like that, is that I've had pole dancers that have like trained with other teachers, and they tell me, well, no, I've never actually been able to do like a basic climb or anything like that. And I'm just like, okay, well, that's a bit silly. Let's give it a try and see, you know, kind of what's all going on. I think once you start either breaking down certain techniques, or you even just kind of address the confidence issue, or even like a mental block. Because there's so much more than just training a specific skill or something.
100%.
Yeah, definitely. And you probably see that as well, which is something we'll talk about. But there's so much more than that. I mean, it's a whole kind of like encompassing thing. And I guess kind of like what you said about hitting that plateau is like, maybe your teacher wasn't like giving you the confidence that you needed, or they weren't helping you overcome that mental block, or
and not just the mental block, but it was drill, and there was no take a breath, let's move on to something else for a second. There was never any of that. And I was talking, when I was training, I was at the rink at least the equivalent of a full-time job while being in high school.
Right. That's what it was for me for my younger days as a dancer too. It was like when we weren't doing schoolwork, it was studio. You know, you'd go full day of school and then right afterwards straight to the studio, and that's where you stayed until you got back home. And so it's just
this was before school as well though, because I was on the synchronized skating team as well.
It's hardcore too, especially when you're that young as well. And I think we kind of have similar journeys kind of in that way too, is that when you're so young and so impressionable, the people and the coaches that come into your life and kind of guide you on that journey are so important to basically give you that deciding factor of, I'm going to stick with it, or I'm going to not stick with it. But let's go to that later. So you decided to do some training with me, which is really exciting. I was so happy. What was the initial goal that you had in your head? What were you like, I'm going to do this?
I initially wanted to get my flexibility back because I'd always been flexible. I'd never actually been able to fully do a split. But it was one of the things that I kind of wanted to actually have. So, and I think it was our first training session. I actually said something along those lines, and you were like, well, let's give it a try. And I was like, oh, okay. And then, we kind of realized that that wasn't actually going to be taking as long as we thought. And next thing we know, it was there.
Well, I mean, the thing is with that too, it was like you already had a good foundation of flexibility. So it wasn't like you were starting at literally zero.
No.
It was just a matter of just trying to retrain certain things and kind of like loosening up certain muscles in your body to make sure that you could actually get back into those. Because the thing is with flexibility, I feel like you don't actually lose flexibility that quickly. You just, your muscles get too tense, you just don't stretch out as much, so they're not as like stretchy, everything like that. But I feel like the foundation's kind of flexibility. If I stretch enough, I could go from literally holding my leg here all the way to back here. But it really just depends on obviously like the preparation before that stretch. So it was really easy to get you to kind of that level already because you were already flexible and you already had that. It was just kind of training those little foundations and regaining that flexibility again, which is really good. So that was great. That was really easy. And then
that was the easy part.
That was the easy part. It was easy. It was good. And then over time, I noticed that you kind of started wanting to like level up a bit. So you were just kind of like, oh, well, I want to learn this today, or I want to start looking into this. What was that deciding factor? So obviously you wanted to start on flexibility. Why did you then decide to go into everything else?
I think part of it is neurodivergency because I'm one of those people, I see something, I like it, I want to try it.
Definitely.
I've always been that way since I was a kid. And it's kind of frustrating because it means a lot of the time, well, it is and it isn't, because it's always great to be versatile. But at the same time, it makes it hard to focus on just one side of things.
100%.
And I think I saw people doing cool things and I got inspired by it and was like, I want to try that. I want to learn to do that. And I just come to you with all sorts of crazy things that I wanted to learn, and you were just like, you were like, we can do that.
Let's work up to it. Let's do it. Absolutely. I think too. So obviously you used to do like a lot of the ice skating stuff. Where was that kind of bridge to go into our side of the performing arts? Because those are two very separate performing arts.
They very much are. So I quit that for quite a while, and then I started coming out of my shell and realizing my sexuality. So I started spending a lot more time around the LGBTQIA plus community. And found myself quite involved in the local drag scene. So that was where the performing side really started to actively come out. So I did that for a little while with a drag house, and you know, it was amazing. I think we had a drag family of something like 15.
Oh wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
That's a
it
good
was
amount.
It
Yeah.
was one of the most renowned drag houses in
Wow,
Adelaide.
Good on you guys. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
so that was the start. That all fell apart when, I guess, the house mother, so to speak, just kind of became overly ego inflated.
You're right. Okay. Yeah.
And that was the end of that. There was no more get-togethers. There was no more family, so to speak.
Yeah.
Then decided to give heels dancing a go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Loved performing with that, and so it just all started again from there. And obviously that gave me a taste of floor work and the more burlesque side of things.
Yeah.
So moved over to hot sauce at one point, gave that a shot, loved it.
Yay, Lyra.
Yes.
Oh, how good. Yes, yes.
And so everything has just sort of tumbled into place, I
Yes,
guess. It's
yeah.
like that snowball effect.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just find that one thing that you're like obsessed with.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a good thing too about like going into different kind of sides of the performing arts, because like I have noticed, and I do encourage a lot of students as well to basically kind of like hop into different things, if that makes sense.
100%.
Like skill hop, I guess, if you would call it that.
Yeah.
But from going from maybe like, oh, I want to try heels, to maybe more exotic, or oh, now that I like exotic, let's go into pole. Maybe not pole, let's go into aerials. I think it is so important to just be able to go into all these different things as well. Find out what you enjoy, find out what you like.
And then it's like I went to Inferno and then I picked up fire spinning.
Yeah,
And now it's
exactly.
like there's so many different things that are in my repertoire that it's just like, it's always hard to keep doing all of them.
It is, yeah. You
And it's
kinda
like
have to
they
choose.
all have such a special place in your heart, but you're just like, how do I incorporate doing all of these things
100%. Yeah.
as much as I would like to?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to keep up with, you know, when you find that certain niche, you kind of stick into it, but then it's also like you want to have all these different skills and like diversify your skill set a little bit, which is really good, and it's an important part of like your whole performer identity. It's like it's just finding the time and also the commitment.
Oof.
Because I think this is something you wanted to bring up as well.
Yes.
Is the importance of commitment and dedication and showing up every single day.
The consistency.
Consistency, that's the word I'm getting at, thank you. The consistency, because if you don't have that consistency,
there's not going to be any progress.
Exactly.
And it's like, I think the first time I saw a progress side-by-side photo that you'd taken, I believe I put a post up or something and it said, progress is a process.
Yeah, 100%, yeah.
And I don't know how I had that pop into my head, but I was like, that's actually incredibly accurate.
Yeah.
Because without all of those weeks of training, all of those sessions, all of the things I did in between, it wouldn't have got to that point.
Definitely.
And that's the importance of consistency. I mean, we had weeks where we didn't train flexibility.
Yeah.
Where we did strength training and balance training. But then we'd come back next week and suddenly the flexibility was just there.
Yeah, good point. We were talking about this last week too.
Yeah.
When we were training, was that if you overtrain something a bit too much, then that kind of starts to see your progress go backwards sometimes?
Yeah, we were talking about this. Yeah.
I think trying to understand that happy medium between making sure you're consistent and making sure you show up and you're actually training and actively doing stuff, but then not overdoing it to where you're actually going to go backwards, cause some injuries, or do something that you may actually not be able to reverse. Just going back to what you had said about progress being a process. Explain to me what that kind of means to you and kind of like how you embodied that whole, you know, kind of quote everything.
So for me, I'm a typical Aries. I'm stubborn and I'm impatient. I'm one of those people, I see something, I want to do it, and I want to do it right away.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, things don't work that way.
Yeah.
They never do. You have to build all those stepping stones to eventually get to that point.
Yeah.
And it's like those progress photos. I didn't actually realize the progress I was making during that until I saw them side by side.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, okay. And then I was looking through, and I think there were 6 or 7 different weeks of progress photos. And I just went, progress is a process.
Yeah, definitely.
And it was just that light bulb moment where it just kind of flicks over and you're like, right, if I really want this, I'm going to have to work my ass off for it.
Definitely.
And it's the best way I can put it. If you want it, you got to work for it.
Definitely.
It's not going to happen overnight. Nothing good ever does.
Yeah.
If it was easy, everyone would be doing it.
Exactly. And I think that's just a general motto of life too. Like if you want something, you literally have to work for it. Even with some performers that I've trained and people that I've worked with, a lot of them think like, oh, maybe just one lesson is going to be enough. And I'm going to do all this stuff in one lesson. And we're going to get everything sorted. And we're going to have my whole show ready. And we're going to smash out flexibility and get all these new pole tricks. And it's just, that is not realistic. You have to actually show up and, consistently, like you said, you have to show up every single day, do something, even if it's just maybe a little bit more flexibility one time. Maybe the next week you come back and, you just keep training that. It's just you're building up those little building blocks.
Yeah.
You can't just expect to come to one session, be freaking amazing from literally zero, and then be able to put it on stage just like that.
Absolutely.
Like, that is not realistic. And that's something I think that you've really, really shown throughout your training as well. Because you literally, unless I cancel, I don't think you've actually canceled. I think it's always been me who's been cancelled. I'm like, Arielle, I'm feeling shit. I can't do anything today.
I think you may actually be correct on that.
There's been times where you've been like, you know what, not fair because I'm feeling shit too.
That
doesn't count.
When we go out for sushi.
We're still doing something productive. But I guess like that just shows though dedication to everything. You're just consistently showing up every single week on the dot, 2 hours. Let's work on this, and this.
Well, it hasn't been 2 hours every week. We changed, but I think it was needed because it was just, we were working on so many different things that we just didn't have time to do what we wanted.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it hit that point where it was like, if you're happy to, I think it would be a good idea.
Yeah.
And I think it's been one of the best decisions we actually made in my training.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing too. It's beautiful to just see like the progression from first started working with you.
7 months ago.
7 months ago now. Please don't blow up. What was my tangent?
And how long we've been?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so we've been training together for what, like 6 months, 7 months now?
7 months, I think.
And it hasn't just been just like 1 or 2 sessions here, or maybe a session here. It's been every Tuesday. Now it's every Wednesday or Monday, whatever it is. Really,
they've been all over the place. We've chopped and changed
as needed. Yeah. But I mean, that's the good thing too, is it's like, even if, maybe Monday doesn't work for you, you're like, all right, well, let's do Tuesday instead. So you still maintain that consistency every single week.
So set on training that sometimes it must just be like, oh my God, Arielle, please.
No, and no, it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing at all. It's really, really good. And it shows your dedication. And
she's pushy.
She's pushy. No, but it's good. It's a good thing. It's a good kind of a thing to have though. But yeah, it's that consistent showing up every week, doing stuff, and that's how 100%. You see the most progress. And it's hard, and I think that's the thing too, is when you're the one training every day, you don't really recognize the progress because it's just, oh, okay, well, just a little bit more flexible. But then when you look back at like your before photos or your first stage that you've done, and then you look at to where you are now, then that's where you start to see all that progress.
It's important to have those videos and those photos. You may not like being filmed, you may not like watching yourself, but believe me, they are so crucial to your training. Because there are things that I've done in performances where I've gone, oh my gosh, what on earth was that?
Yeah, exactly.
And there are things that I've done that I've just freestyled and have been absolutely beautiful, and I'm like, how did that look that good? Rewind, what did I actually 100%,
do? Yeah.
Oh, and it's like, I'm keeping that. That was beautiful.
Yeah. I always encourage every one of my students to always record themselves. I know they hate it and they're like, why would I want to see myself? But it's like, it's so good. Like, you need that feedback because you can't watch yourself.
No.
You can watch yourself in the mirror, but it's not the same. You have to like go back and watch yourself. And even with me as well, whenever I do performances, I will literally stay on my phone for an hour, just rewinding it and being like, oh, fuck, I could have pointed my toe. Oh, I should have done this better. I should have looked to the right instead of the left. Like, I do that with all of my performances. I don't know if you do as well.
Yeah. I do. I do it with all of them. And then there's times where I'm just like, what the hell was that? Why?
Yeah. It's good to have that kind of like constructive criticism on yourself too.
Yeah.
In the end, you're your hardest critic. And it's like, as much as it sucks, as much as you don't want to be that person, it is actually really beneficial for you in the end.
It really is. And I hate watching myself. I hate it.
Me too.
I hate it so much.
Yeah, I nitpick so much too. Yeah.
Oh, don't get me started on the nitpicking.
Yeah, I know. You and I both, dude. But it's really, really important. And I think like a lot of performers need to realize that as well. So I think that's just that's kind of part of it too, is why you've been doing
it's a good way to also see what you're doing from the audience's perspective.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
Because that way you can provide a better quality show the next time you're out.
Definitely.
Because you know what worked well and what didn't. So you can chop and change as needed.
Exactly. And just keep building again.
Yeah.
Just keep working on things, keeping the things that work, getting rid of the stuff that doesn't work.
Yeah.
And
100%.
just kind of building on that from there. I guess like just going back to that dedication and, you know, consistency back on your journey and kind of like how far you've come to where when I first started working with you, you're a very awkward kind of dancer. You know, so you have flexibility, which is great. But it's just like now you're more well-rounded because you have different skills in your toolbox now. You have strength, you know, flexibility. Yes. And it's like because of that, you know, you can incorporate a little bit from this, incorporate a little bit from this, and just kind of put it all into your,
it's really exciting to actually have that though. And be like, oh, I could put this into this, into this.
Exactly. And it's even like when you want to start, you know, when you start doing shows and everything like that, you have all of this like flow art stuff as well from learning all the fire stuff. So then you can incorporate that into your shows somehow. That's the beauty of being able to just kind of have different aspects.
100%.
And everything like that too.
Absolutely.
Which is really good. Yeah. Oh, okay. Now I remember one. Continue. What was one of the, I guess, kind of most trying times where it's kind of like challenged you a bit in your journey?
Oh, there've been a few. I think for me, when I actually started applying for things and realizing that I was a performer and I wasn't just, you know, one of those girls that was sitting in the background and doing things for other people. I think that was one of the hardest things for me to actually grasp, and then putting in the expressions of interest and then not getting anything.
Yeah.
And then just the mental drain that has.
Yeah.
I think was actually one of the hardest things for me.
Like the rejection kind of thing? Is that
the
what it
rejection?
Was? Yeah.
And it's just like, and some you don't hear back from at all.
100%, yeah.
And then it's like you see an email and you get excited because you're like, and then it says at this time and just like,
yeah, exactly.
And it's so hard as a performer to deal with that.
And like rejection, from shows and all that kind of stuff too, especially when that's kind of the road you want to go down.
Yes.
As a emerging artist and performer, it is very hard to get booked unless you have connections in the industry, or unless you know somebody that's a producer, or you know that kind of thing too. What are some things that you have implemented in your life to make sure that you're the one who gets booked?
Constantly being prepared.
Yeah. Oh,
because you never know when that opportunity is going to come, and if you don't have a track, you don't have a costume sorted, then you're going to be in that last minute stress.
100%. Yeah.
And so I have little bits and pieces that I just have set aside.
Yeah.
If I do randomly get something.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm just putting in for anything and everything that catches my interest.
Yeah, definitely too. I think in terms of being prepared too, that's something that's really kind of worked to my advantage as well, is always having a costume, having like the go-to music that I always use, having like a go-to theme, and you can pretty much just chop and change different performances and everything like that to suit whatever the production, the producer, venue manager, whatever it is looking for. So I guess that's a really good point, is just always being prepared for literally whatever people throw at you, is going to make everything, I think, just a lot easier, a lot more seamless.
I think the way I talk to people has also changed a lot.
Yeah.
Because I went from, like I said, a background girl, a hype girl. I just hyped everyone up. When everyone was silent, I was the one screaming. I
remember seeing you at one of the shows. I forgot which one it was. I think it was one of the Infernos that I was in.
I know there was one that you were in the audience, because I actually found you in the background of a photo that I was in.
Weird.
Yeah, I know.
It's just those little things where you kind of like interact, but you don't realize until later on.
Yep.
And we
hadn't even been introduced at that point.
Interesting. Yeah, I remember seeing you somewhere and knowing that you were like kind of involved somehow, but I wasn't sure how. And I was just like, I know she's in the, performing arts industry somewhere along the line.
Somewhere.
So, what is something that you have kind of experienced along the journey that has maybe surprised you, or kind of maybe even thrown you off course a little bit?
There have been quite a few things. Some of the things that I thought would never be possible. So you're already aware of my shoulder injury.
Yeah.
And I remember the day you said to me, you know what, we're going to work on headstands. And I just kind of went, we're doing what now? And then it happened. I apparently need a shoulder replacement, but I can stand on my head.
Yeah,
okay. This makes no sense. Things like that. And then it was like when we randomly decided to chuck me back on the pole.
Yeah.
And see what happened there.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's no way my shoulder can hack this.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, is this all in my head? is it just a mental block? Is that all it is with the shoulder? Like, obviously, there's a medical reason things aren't happening, but clearly there's a lot of a mental block there too.
Yeah.
And just a lot of the, I guess, the more acrobatic side of things that we've been working on. That was a big shock. I didn't actually see that in my journey or in my path at all.
Yeah.
But that has been one of my favorite things to work on.
Oh, good.
It's just, it's something that's really pushed me mentally as well as physically.
Yeah.
And I think you need those mental challenges from time to time.
100%. Yeah.
And it was just that mind-blowing moment when it actually happened. And I
Yeah.
was like, wait a minute, I'm upside down.
Yeah.
What is happening?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's such a lovely moment, isn't it? When
It
you
is.
actually are able to
It
balance.
is.
It's just, it feels so good. I don't know what it is, but it's just like a satisfaction almost.
Yeah.
When you say a mental block, can you go into that a little bit more? What exactly is a mental block for you?
So for me, the mental block is the knowing you can do something, knowing it's possible, but being so stuck in your head about that you're almost too scared to even try.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to break out of.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been very good at getting me to break out of them, but it's so hard to break that on your own.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially with something like, you know, throwing yourself upside down.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And, you know, doing it on your own versus, you know, having someone like Fawn spot you and take a foot off the ground and then doing the rest yourself.
Yeah.
It's so different. And of course, when you get stuck in your head, you get more frustrated.
Yeah.
You're agitated.
Yeah.
You feel defeated.
Yeah.
And it's one of the most frustrating things in the world. And it happens to, I think, every performer and every person.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Even if
yeah,
we
definitely.
don't acknowledge it, it's there.
Definitely.
And it's just such a pain in the butt.
Where do you think that mental block comes from, in your mind?
In my mind, I think it's got something to do with, for me, I think it's the shoulder industry.
Yeah.
Like the shoulder injury.
Yeah.
Especially when we're doing the acrobatic side of things. I think I forget the strength that is there.
Yeah.
And that it is capable of doing it because, I mean, I'm doing it assisted.
Yeah.
So the only thing that's changing is the assistance is being removed. But then you know that the assistance is being removed and suddenly the safety is being pulled away, so to speak.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh crap, this is all on me. I have to remember all the things, the technique.
Yeah, definitely.
The technique,
Definitely.
the position, the control. I've got to remember all of this now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's all on me.
Kind of like set you free in a way. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like a baby birdie spreading the wings for the first time, and you know it's either going to be
a complete flop.
A complete flop.
Yeah.
Which we've had some
We've
of
had
those.
some flops. We've had a few flops.
Quite a few.
And almost a few times I've been kicked in the head.
Yes.
But that's okay.
I am sorry about those.
That's okay. It happens. It happens. You've had a few flops where you've literally just fallen on the ground before, but you know, it's one of those. I think it's one of that's the part. It's a part of learning because you know
it seriously is.
You have to fall. You have to understand where you went wrong.
And I feel like that's one of the biggest things about Rising Phoenix. There's so much emphasis on the fall, but also the rise that comes afterwards from that. And it's one of the biggest things that I love about it because there's an emphasis on the coming back stronger.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's, I think, one of the biggest things that's kept me training with you.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, because there's just always that, doesn't matter if it doesn't work this time, we'll try it again.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, we didn't get it this week, we'll get it next week.
Yeah.
There's always just that positive energy of, it's okay, might not happen now, but it will happen.
Yeah, at some point.
Yeah, and just the positivity that's around it.
Aww.
I think that's one of the biggest things.
Yeah.
And then everyone I've met through Rising Phoenix has just been an absolutely incredible human being.
Yeah.
It's like you've just created this little army of just amazing performers and human beings in general.
Phoenixes.
Yeah.
Little phoenixes.
The little odyssey.
A few things I want to talk about there, which is actually really interesting, is first of all, like the concept of when I kind of think of the phoenix and how that kind of incorporates into like the whole performing arts thing, is that you're going to fuck up a few times. Like it's going to happen. You're going to fall. You're going to mess up. You're going to embarrass yourself. Something's going to happen. I was going to say
either
like,
physically, metaphorically, mentally,
like everything. I mean, and that's just part of life too. Is you're going to have so many different roadblocks that always, you know, will come up in pretty much every industry and any kind of field, anything that you're doing. And I think at that point you have the choice to either push forward and you just kind of like, in terms, I guess, of like Phoenix terminology, is you could choose to set yourself on fire, knowing that it's going to hurt, knowing that, you know, something may, you know, it's going to be uncomfortable, you're going to fall, you're going to hurt yourself, you could potentially injure yourself, you know, it's going to make you cry, whatever that kind of thing is, putting yourself setting yourself on fire, putting yourself through all those hard feelings, knowing that at the end of that you're going to come out stronger.
100%.
And I find that's where a lot of performers will actually stop, is they don't want to deal with a lot of those uncomfortable feelings, or, you know, maybe the embarrassment of not getting a trick right, or, you know, kind of having to face the fear of failure, basically. And a lot of performers will stop at that point where they're about to set themselves on fire. And
I feel like that's one of the most important times to keep going.
100%. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, that's the good thing about you too, is like, obviously we've had some times where you almost basically like broke down in tears, or you've gotten so frustrated that you're shaking, or you're literally, your body is so freaking tired, you're lethargic that you actually can't do anything else. But it's those moments, and it's just like, I think that's what's really good about, if you have a really good teacher as well, is that teacher knowing when, okay, today's that's enough of burning yourself today, you know, you've walked through the fire today, that's fine. Or seeing that kind of the exit, the light at the end of the tunnel, where it's like you just need to push a tiny bit more, and you're gonna get it today. And being able, as a teacher, I think as a mentor, to be able to identify those different steps and understanding that shit is gonna be uncomfortable. And as a mentor teacher as well, you have to be the one to accept that uncomfortable feelings. I've had teachers as well, that when I start getting frustrated, because I get the same way too, whenever I learn stuff, I get frustrated, I get embarrassed, and they basically just call it off. They're like, oh, let's just work on something else, let's work on something easier. And that's actually kind of brought me backwards in my training, because it's like, this trick I want to get done, I'm just feeling very like flustered and overwhelmed and frustrated with everything. But then my teacher doesn't want to push me and give me that little bit of positivity and reassurance that I need to get this trick. Kind of going back to the Phoenix as well, if you don't push past that point of burning yourself in the fire, you're never going to rise anew. You're never going to become stronger and become like ultimate Phoenix. Literally. So I think that's something that's really good with you as well, is because even though, like I said, I've seen lots of breakdowns, I've seen you frustrated, I've, you know, all these different feelings and emotions, but understanding that that's okay. It's a safe place to be able to express those.
100%.
You know, and it's okay to cry. It's okay to get frustrated at yourself and to, you know, be upset and yell at yourself and all this kind of stuff. That's fine.
The amount of videos we have where I've just sworn.
Yeah, and it's fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. That's part of the journey. But after you come down out of that little kind of like fury that you're in, you usually get it right afterwards. Or maybe you're just too tired and we come back to it next week and you get it next week. Exactly. That's that consistency and dedication. But also
and the determination
of pushing through those uncomfortable moments and feelings and everything too. A lot of people that I've even spoke to as well, like I saw Molly Morphine yesterday, and Molly was just basically like, oh, well, I've seen all the stuff that Arielle's been doing. She's doing amazing. Like, people see the progress, you know what I mean? They knew you when you were just entering the industry and you were just kind of still a little baby dancer. To now, when they see kind of you doing stuff and all these different tricks and everything like that, they see the progress.
Yeah.
You know, and it's easier from the outside. You probably don't see it as much. So you should be proud of yourself, I think, in that way. Of just being able
I didn't realize people were actually taking that much notice.
Yeah, people do. In silence.
And it's like, and it's like I post things on my Instagram of our trainings.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people don't realize that I actually post them for myself. It's like, I have my training highlights video. There's a flop in there, I can guarantee.
Lots of flops, yeah.
Lots of flop videos.
Lots of flops.
And it's one of those things, you need to look back on these things, otherwise you don't see your progress.
Exactly.
And I think that's probably one of the biggest things for me every time I'm like ready to just go, nah, too hard basket, let's leave that alone.
Yeah.
I think the only times we've actually left things alone is when we've known that they're actually out of my body's limitations.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, physical limitations.
Yeah.
So knowing that and knowing what your body's actually, like where the limits are.
I guess like that too is being able to communicate between those two. Like, you know, when you say, oh, I can't do this, is it like, okay, well, is it because of your shoulder? Is it because of an injury and it's hurting and it's physically hurting? Or is it because your mind is just telling you to stop?
Yeah.
Which one of those is it? And if it's a physical injury, that's fine.
And I think that's one of the best things you ever asked me. You're like, okay, is it physically hurting?
Yeah. Or is it mentally hurting?
Or is it mentally hurting? You basically said something like that to me, and I was like, it's not physically hurting. And then and you just said to me, then you're in a mental block.
Yeah.
She's like, we need to get you out of your head.
Yeah.
It's that simple. And I was just like,
Next thing I kind of wanted to talk about is in terms of just like, you know how you said that the Odyssey, and you have these little group of performers that, you know, you're kind of connected with, and obviously you connected with some outside of Rising Phoenix.
Yeah.
But I guess kind of like, let's talk about the performers that you connected with in Rising Phoenix.
Yeah.
And how that actually came.
So it's funny how I managed to meet a lot of the performers through Rising Phoenix, because I managed to do that through being your door girl for Fringe.
Yeah, true.
And then, of course, in doing that, you know, I was helping out upstairs and at a couple of tech rehearsals, and I started meeting people and just talking to them.
Yeah.
And of course, because I had costumes myself and I was helping other performers, I was running backstage here and there, and it gave me a chance to just talk to people.
Yeah.
And I got to watch bits and pieces of the show and just be in awe and inspired by all of these incredible performers.
Yeah.
And then actually talking to them and hearing parts of their stories, it was just like, wow, holy crap, okay, that's amazing. The amount of time and dedication and effort that went into that, oh my gosh, like that's like a dream. How?
100%. Yeah.
And I think that was one of the big pushes for me when I got the opportunity to train with you. I was like,
that's going to be, going to be
I'm
me
gonna
on
be like,
stage.
it's going to be me.
Yeah. Oh, lovely. I think that's important though, like having that community around you that not only, I guess, is kind of like your friends or, you know, like your co-workers in a sense, but being able to push you to become a better performer and inspire you, and even maybe just like picking you up when you're falling down. Like I've had a few performers that I've felt maybe a bit shit or something like that, and backstage I've been like, oh, you've been good, you done well, and I'm like, oh, okay, thank you. But like being able to have that community surrounding you and, you know, really be able to kind of like fall back to that community, but then also be part of it and like create it as well. So you're not only part of the community now, you are the community.
Absolutely.
You know, it's like it's now your role.
Absolutely. And now it's your role to uplift someone else.
100%.
And it's a beautiful full circle thing to have people notice as well.
Yeah.
It's like I had someone come up to me the other day and go, your stages have improved so much.
Oh, lovely.
And I was like, oh, thank you.
Yeah.
And I was like,
sweet.
and it was so nice to hear that, because we both know how hard we've been working on those and the frustration that's come in
exactly
every now and then in those.
Yeah.
But once again, it comes back to that little community. The amount of times I'll work on something, it'll happen in a stage, and I'll just hear the girls cheer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it's the small, teeny, tiny moments like that where you know you've just tried something new for the first time and you've nailed it.
100%. Yeah.
And we have so many performers within Rising Phoenix that it's just, and the skill range is just insane.
Yeah, lots of diversity, I think, you know.
100%.
Newbie performers.
And it's so important.
Yeah.
So many different skills, and it's just incredible and a beautiful thing to watch.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's something that I kind of really focused on with Rising Phoenix as well, was that we want to create something that's very inclusive of everything. So even if you're just starting out, even if you just had zero experience, you don't know what the hell you're doing here, you can still, you know, make friends with somebody that's been on the stage and has literally made this their career.
Yeah.
So that way you guys can intermingle, and this person that's, you know, way up here can provide all that support and guidance, but then the person that's way down here has somebody to look up to and ask questions to, and, you know, get that support and help. So it's just, you know, like you said, going back to that full circle, being able to have people that are in all stages of that. So that way we can all.
And it's nice because some of the girls that I met during Fringe, I mean, I now see them on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
And it's just the nicest thing to meet someone for 5 minutes, and then, you know, you see them a few months later and it's like, oh, how are you?
Yeah,
come here,
definitely.
give me a hug.
Definitely.
How have you been?
Yeah.
It's just the sweetest thing.
Yeah.
And it really is a community. It's not just a training academy.
Yeah.
It's not.
Oh.
It is a community of actual phoenixes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And all of us have such different stories, yet they're so similarly intertwined. And it's just incredible. It really is an empire, and I think people have a lot to watch out for with the phoenixes.
Oh yeah, the good old Odyssey. And like, I think just kind of wrapping that point up is basically like, I think with everyone that's in the community of like Rising Phoenix and all that kind of stuff too, because, you know, we're very diverse. We have people from different communities, and kind of like they'll come in for maybe a season or something, and then they'll go on their way again, which is fine, you know, and I don't expect everyone to stay all close knit. But the beauty of it is just like, we've all had these experiences, I guess, that are kind of similar in a way that we've all gone through some shit. We've all experienced some shit. We've had our setbacks and our limitations, but then we've all kind of overcome that in our own ways. And we're able to just kind of relate to that on such a beautiful basis. And I think that kind of serves as the whole like foundation of it, which is really beautiful. So,
it is.
Yeah. It's gorgeous.
Yes, it is.
All right.
It really is like a little family.
It is a little Odyssey.
It's like we don't see each other all the time, but when we do, it's a blast.
Yeah, exactly. Which means like, kind of leads into the next thing that we're kind of talking about is Fringe, but then also what's on the agenda for you now? Like what looking
Ooh,
forward,
okay.
your goals, your things that you're looking forward to. What do you want to achieve?
Okay, so obviously I'm wanting to perform a lot more.
Yeah.
I'm hoping with Fringe that I can maybe bring a new style of performance to Adelaide at least.
Yep.
It'll be interesting to see whether I can pull it off.
Mm-hmm.
We've been working hard on it.
Yep.
Yeah, obviously I want to perform more, and I want to incorporate a lot more of my fire skills into just my day-to-day numbers.
Yes. Yeah.
Because it's something that I haven't put as much emphasis on lately, and I'm really feeling the need to go back to it.
Of course. Yeah.
It's the one of the few things that's kept me really grounded, and I think that's, I guess, one thing that, it's important to bring all of those things together. And if you can combine them all into an act,
Even
you've
better.
got something.
Even better. Yeah.
So yeah, for me, I think definitely more shows.
Yeah.
Obviously, lots more training.
Yes. Every week.
Every week.
Every Monday, Tuesday. Let's get it.
Just another Manic Monday or a Torture Tuesday.
Ooh, Manic Monday, Torture Tuesday. There we go. We've got something new. Usually it's Torture Tuesdays, but we have to change it to Mondays now. So there we go.
There we
New
go.
title,
It's Manic
new title.
Mondays.
Manic Mondays it is. Which is kind of true. We are pretty manic on those Mondays.
Oh God, I feel like if they could hear a training session, they would just be like, "What is wrong with both of you?"
It would sound ridiculous.
It would.
It would sound really ridiculous. Yeah.
You should let us know if you want to hear the audio from a training session.
God.
That would.
That's.
Fawn's just like, no, I'm cutting this out.
It's just me just talking lots of bullshit and then being like, okay, serious now, and then just talking bullshit again.
Yes.
With a few tears, lots of flops.
Lots of flops.
Lots of flops. It'd be great. It'd be beautiful. Sounds like a whole freaking zoo, honestly. Wrapping it all up now, it's beautiful to see all of your progress and everything that you've been kind of, doing over the last 6-7 months that we've known each other. You should be really proud of yourself of, how far you've come, your dedication, and you're not only growing in your skills, but you're also growing as a person as well. You're more mature, resilient, that kind of thing as well.
It's so easy to pop that persona on as a performer
100%.
and be confident in that.
Yeah.
But then outside of it, so many of us aren't.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
Yeah,
such a
100%.
mark. I feel like it's one of the biggest things when you can actually take that confidence and apply it in your outside life as well. It's a game changer.
It is, yeah. Well, thank you so much, Arielle, for joining us on Artistic Extension. And
Thank you for having me. Fun.
Stories. Just one quick note before we end. We just wanted to share our Little Rising Phoenix hoodies. If you'd like one, we have the link in the description. And we actually have our own little names on it too, which is
I
really,
feel
really
like you
beautiful.
only did this for a select few though.
Yeah, it was basically a pre-order type of thing, but we have our little names on it, and then we also have the good old Rising Phoenix logo in the back. We've got some nice.
I was gonna say you gotta mention the little phoenix on the sleeve.
And we have a phoenix on the sleeve, so that way whenever you are writing your invoices or reaching for some props, you see the phoenix.
Yes.
On your arm. Ascendance is being released very, very soon, which is an online platform for performers. So if you don't have the time, like Arielle does, if you're not able to fully commit yourself to weekly sessions, then it's going to be easier to do a lot of your training online, which is what Ascendance basically just kind of addresses. So that's going to be released very, very soon. What else do we have? We also have Fringe coming up. So the Fringe early bird wait list is being released tonight. Just keep an eye out for that. All the performers will be announced very, very soon. Just sign up to the wait list. There are very few tickets available because we are only doing a few sessions. So if you want to watch, get in. It's a really, really good theme, really solid theme. We're going to have some amazing performers.
I'm so excited for this theme.
I'm so ready. And it's going to be a lot of fun too. So
It is.
that's going to be happening very soon. And yeah, I can't really think of anything else at the moment. It's just all happening.
It is all happening.
Yeah. But anyways, thank you so much again, Arielle, for being on the show. And
Thank
you guys
for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you guys for listening, and talk soon. Bye.
Bye.